Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And today's episode is the first one after we finish the garden show build. So this will come out on the Thursday, which is in a couple of days after recording this. And I've going to go through the questions I sent through that I was supposed to do on Sunday. So if you've got any questions, chuck them in down the bottom. I can't do it on the Landscaping Podcast page as well because I'm using the phone to read the questions because I haven't had time to write them down because I only just walked in the door. The first question was from Paul Pritchard Landscaping, and he said, any chance of getting that Spanish moss? So I ended up having some left over, but it was too late. But sorry for that, Paul. But I'm sure I haven't seen a lot of the gardens yet, but I'm sure he looks stunning from what I saw during the build. Next question is from Will Barrow and Stone. So he gave us the chop out for today, which was very much appreciated because it was pretty handy. What do we think of mitered corners on decks? Here in New Zealand, they all blow out and look shit. Yeah, that can happen as well. Whatever you're using for them on timber. Even I've seen some composite decking moves, but that could be to do with the frame. But you've got to go really over the top if you don't want it to move. Like use a biscuit joiner and a special wood glue for it. They do look good when they're done well, but yeah, like you say, you can even the cuts don't look perfect, and then the timber expands and contracts. So there's other ways to do it. They might not look quite as fancy as a miter, but there's still good ways to do the joins on the timber with, and then alternating the way that the boards go, which is a bit of a pattern. So there's different ways to do it. So you don't have to always do miters, but they do look nice. Clint Adams from Very Clint said, what are your top 3 tips for anyone looking at building at MIFGS in 2024? I would say to start planning now. So I was looking at doing it last year at the garden show. I decided that's when I want to do it. So I was looking at plants that are looking good then because it's hard to know. Like there's only a limited number of plants that look good in the early to mid part of autumn. So I was taking notes of what plants were looking good, and then some of them look good now that looked good same time last year, but the weather's always different. So some of them didn't look any good and I couldn't use. So start planning as soon as possible. Start organising sponsorship. That's the most important part to save you a lot of money. I was lucky to have a heap of good sponsors on who helped you out with that. And you can also look into growing your plants. So we work with Chartwell Nurseries, and they grew a lot of plants from 6-inch pots into I don't even know what the inches are, 8s and 10s. So they were potting up for us, which made a massive difference. And I also bought some plants in 6-inch pots and then potted them up into 25 centimetre pots. So they were filling out that, like they were overflowing by the time the garden show came around. So because you want to have, and the bigger plants you've got, the less you need. So it's quicker to put them in, quicker to take them out. Don't have to spend as much money. But yeah, definitely planning is the key, and building as much as you can beforehand. And start saving. So they're probably my three tips, because it does cost a lot of money depending on the garden you build. So some people don't go stupidly extravagant as what I did, but do what you want to do, because it's not something you're going to do every year. So that's why I went all out on it. Now just got to change over to the Install Gardens page and see the questions there. Luckily, you can still go back into your archives and see the questions. It's just not easy for me to talk and move my thumbs at the same time. Design File Warrior said, what's bleaching, grows quickly, bug-free, and not invasive roots? I reckon probably a ornamental pear would be. I don't know how invasive their roots are. I don't think they're that too crazy. Ficus obviously goes pretty quick, but if ficus is looked after, their roots don't go too crazy. But yeah, probably an ornamental pear would be one out of the box that I first thought of when you asked that question. And Joshua Herod said, with rising interest rates, what area of landscape would you focus on if you could only choose one? Well, if it's not related to the interest rates, like if cost isn't a factor, I would probably choose like paving, because you can make good money on that, and I just enjoy doing it as well. The body doesn't enjoy me doing it, but I like doing it. So we have an argument occasionally, but I always win, luckily. So yeah, I'd like to do paving if I could only do one thing. And if you're wanting to do something that's very profitable, you could do sort of soft landscaping, like just garden beds and plants. But it gets a bit boring. You want to do the whole lot. You don't want to just do one element of landscaping. Or I don't want to anyway. Riley Cooper told me a line. He said, "I'll come and ask you a question in person," but didn't come and tell me that. So no question from Riley. The plan to space. What would the boys say are your best and worst qualities as a boss? My worst quality would probably be lack of planning. I did a lot of planning for the garden show because you have to, but yeah, I'm generally not very organised at all. So they'll rock up at the shed and not know where they're going that day. So that's something I need to work on. It's funny when I do sit down and plan things like for a week or for the next few days, I think, oh, how good is this? This is, everyone knows what they're doing. It all works pretty well. Every now and then something comes up and changes plans, but generally it works pretty good. But then, I just don't end up planning again. And then 6 months goes by and I haven't done anything. So yeah, probably the worst part would be the lack of organisation. And the best part, possibly who we get to work for, I think. So we work with some pretty cool designers and some pretty fancy gardens. So that's something that I've been working towards, building the business towards. So I assume that would be the best part of it, but you'd have to ask them, obviously. Matt York and Budlington Design, a beautiful show garden created, mate. Congratulations. Likewise. So Matt's from down the Sur Coast as well. So there was 4 designers who live. So out of the 9 show gardens, there was 4 designers who live down in Geelong and the Sur Coast. So more than any other area of the world. So that was pretty cool having all them there. It was this one. Apologies, I can't read properly because my mind is all frazzled. So apologies for getting this. I know I'll get the name wrong. Camerari Landscapes said, I can't read the question. How much money do you invest into a show garden? That's a kind of how long is a piece of string question, because you invest as much as you want, really. The good thing is if you're the client, so the budget is how much you want to spend on it. So when I spoke to Charlie Allbone about on the episode with him, he was talking about building with, I've forgotten her name as well, as Kate Gould. And he said that one of the gardens she built at Chelsea, she put $100,000 of her own money in, as well as getting sponsors. So I don't know if anyone would spend that much in Melbourne, but certainly there'd be plenty who would put north of 50 in there. But you don't have to do that at all. You can do a pretty amazing design and really impactful and a great message behind it without going crazy on the money. My design costs more than average this year because a lot of it is going to my house when it's finished. So I'll be using a lot of it in my own house. So it's kind of, I was getting the 2-for-1 deal. I was sort of getting a discount on the price, using it at the garden show, and then I'll be using it in my house as well. And I'll be promoting both of them because I'm going to want to do a pretty good job on my own house and end up wanting to promote that. So the suppliers who did that will get promotion at the show, and then they'll get promotion ongoing as well. So it works out for both of us. So I get a discounted price, and but everyone would spend a different amount. Some people have got better relationships with suppliers, so they get more things donated or loaned to them. But I hate asking people for products if I don't use them. I've had that the first time I did one of these. I had that problem. I didn't like asking for them, and then it cost me a lot. So I thought next year I'll just ask, and if they want to do it, they can say no. But then this year again, I just didn't want to ask people who I didn't use because I felt bad. But I did still ask some people who I didn't use, like Anston, and then they said yes. So I'll be using them a lot going forward to repay the faith they showed in me by helping me out. So that's the good thing about getting sponsors you don't use a lot, they can, extend an olive branch and really support you in a massive way. And then, you've got to repay the faith they showed in you. McMullen Brothers said, how did you go about getting your builder's license and master landscaping? And do you think it's worth getting your builder's license? So definitely worth getting it, because you can't do any work in conjunction with the building or renovation of a house over $10,000. Like the work you do can't be over $10,000 if it's in conjunction with the building or renovation of a house, if you're not licensed or work for someone who is. So even if you're just doing soft landscaping, you've got to do it, which is ridiculous, but they're the rules. A lot of people, like if the client has been living in the house and it's existing landscaping and everything's all finished in the house, and then they want to redo some work, then you can do that. That's where the grey area comes into it. So it's a bit stupid. You only need your building license if the work, if you get a permit, or if it's a renovation or new build to the actual house. So yeah, it's really, there's a lot of stupid rules about it, but the best way to do it is get your building license. Then you don't have to worry about any of the stupid rules, because you know that you're covered. So I did a 2-day course with the Master Builders Association of Victoria. So that was in conjunction with Landscape in Victoria. They helped organise that and teamed up together. And it was really good, because what they did was showed you everything you needed to do, gave you all the templates to fill out and everything. And then the second day of the course was maybe 6 weeks later. So during that time, you get all your information ready, send it to them, and then they review it. And then on the second day of the course is when they go through it and say, you need to change this and this and put this here. And then basically they tell you it's ready to submit. So that's how I did it. You hear a lot about, there's a lot of courses online about people, like not so much online, but just courses of companies saying that they'll get you your building license, but I don't know if they're, I don't know anything about them, but whether they're necessary. Because if you're qualified, then you can apply for your license. You don't need anything extra for it. You just need, as long as you've got enough experience, which if you're qualified, and I think it might be 3 years, then you'll be able to get it. Just going down to the next question. This is from Dan, who was on site the last couple of days with us, from Revive Landscapes and Living Walls. Have you turned into a duck yet? Surely you must be close by now. And as you can see, I'm reading these questions for the first time now. I've got no idea what he was talking about there. But it could be, I don't think it was raining then. But I can confirm I'm not a duck yet. Shane O'Brien said, how many ice breaks has Dan Foreman been having a day at the show? Don't know if he's talking about ice coffee breaks or, but I did see him probably more than anyone else individually. He did like wandering around and seeing what everyone was up to, which was good. That creates a great morale having people like him at the show. And there's a rumor going around that when I did my styling, I used one of his candles in my styling. So if at the time of recording this, the results haven't been announced yet, but if I've done well, it'll be purely because of the candle that Dan gave me. Next question from Ben Heyman, the garden keeper. He was also at the show helping out helping out Jason Hodges. Has Graham or Ash offered any help at all? So he's talking about Graham Rowe and Ashley James. And at the time of asking that, I hadn't even seen them, and they'd been there for a couple of days, I think. Because, so everyone's there working like mad. So you haven't got a lot of time to walk around chatting to people, unless you're Dan Foreman. But most people don't have time to go and do that. So I haven't seen like any of the gardens really, other than the ones I saw when I was walking out. So I'm looking forward to going in tomorrow to walk around and have a look at all the gardens, because you literally just head down, bum up, working like a maniac, and then it's either dark or you're just keen to get home. So yeah, and I haven't even really looked at our garden that much, because you're just sort of working in it. And then when we finish, we had to get off-site within half an hour after finishing. So we were just packing everything up, chucking it in the truck, and getting out of there. And then we spent probably an hour back at the shed tonight unloading it all. So next question is from Cam from Abcam Horticulture. What happens to your show garden once the show is over? So a lot of it goes back to the suppliers. So a lot of the plants, especially, there's certain sculptures, the big railway pin ball we've got from the Creek Gallery, that's going back to them. So a lot of it goes back. Like I mentioned before, some of that I've bought, so some of it will be going to my place. I'm going to be trying to sell as much as I can, so I'll have a shop on my website, which I've got to do tonight to set that up. With mainly the plants will be on there, and certain items that I've got. So the steel ball will be on there. The barbecue setup from Outdoors Domain, that'll be on there. So yeah, some of it gets sold, some of it gets thrown out. There's certain things like when you're tiling, you don't want, even though the public aren't going on the garden, the judges do. So you want to tile it properly and grout it. So then they kind of destroyed. So some stuff gets thrown out, but a lot of the timber gets recycled by BioGrow. And some of the plants I bought myself. So I'll be looking to sell, particularly those, because there's a hell of a lot of plants that I had to buy. And I know that if I take them back to my shed, they'll just sit out the back of the shed and I'll water them for a little bit, and then they'll end up just dying because something will happen. Like the winter will come along and they'll either get frost or they'll get watered too much or watered not enough. That they just end up dying. So hopefully I can sell them. Steve Nyland said, "What's your preference with apprenticeships, time-based or competency-based?" Good question. Probably just time-based because competency-based. Sorry, because all the apprentices I've had have all finished earlier than you have to. So there's no point keeping it. Well, there is a point keeping it on apprenticeship when they're ready, because you don't have to pay work cover for them. So there are benefits to not signing them off early. So you could, if you think they're good enough, you can sign them off early and just increase their pay to what it would be, but keeping them as an apprentice for as long as possible. But I didn't tell you that. But yet, like some people, there's going to be people who do the full 4 years and are still no good at the end of it. But I'd say competency based, but you have to sign people off eventually. Sean Nullivon said, "How do you keep weeds from coming through landscaping fabric under rocks without Roundup?" So I don't use any landscaping fabric, like if it's weed mat that you're referring to, because weeds grow on top of it anyway. So they're not necessarily coming through it; they're blowing in on top, and then like you see weeds growing up in gutters and between concrete. So there's nothing going to stop them growing where they want to grow. We've pulled up weed mat before and it's just infested with weeds. So, and it's not good for the soil. It's not good for the plants around it. There's literally no benefits to it. So, the only way to keep on top of weeds is to pull them out as soon as you can, and certainly don't let them flower. Because I think there's a saying like a year of seeds. I can't remember what it is, but it's like something to do with if it flowers and goes to seed, then you'll get 7 years of weeds, because the seeds can go sit on top and they'll germinate straight away. Some go a bit deeper, but so you just they're not all coming straight away. So you're constantly going to be working on them. But so just manually removing is the best way if you don't want to use Roundup. And the final question is from ED Landscapes. Thoughts on Sydney companies having a crack at the Melbourne Garden Show? Yeah, I love it. I think the more the merrier, and the bigger variety of states and territories represented, the better. Mitch Kasturian from Exotic Living is there doing I think they're called the Balcony Gardens, the Raymond Health. I think they're the sponsor. So he was there. I left one night at, I think it was about 10:30 at night, and like there weren't a lot of people around, but he was still going. still chipping away on the stonework. So, and it was looking pretty cool when I saw it this morning. So looking forward to see that one finished. And then, Charlie Allbone is there from Sydney. And so there's a few people flew down. I think Brianna Graham's doing the welcome garden with Jason Hodges, and they're both from New South Wales. So I reckon, it's awesome. And then you got Peter Donegan from Ireland. And then there's the four of us from Geelong as well. So there's, it's, even though it's the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, it's good to get people from areas outside. I know there's Daniel Althouse was from Ballarat doing one of the achievable gardens. Just a bigger variety, the better. I don't see why you wouldn't do it. I think it'll look good on your website if you, or even just saying that you've done a job there. So there's plenty of ways you can get work out of it. Yeah, Abcam Horticulture has said the saying I was trying to come up with, which is 1 year of seeds, 7 years of weeds. That's it. And Dan Foreman said, we are doing an interview Friday, 2 till 2:45 with Renee and myself, if anyone is coming in on Friday. So there's at the Welcome Garden, there's a lot of talks going on, and the program that you'd usually get, a paper program when you go to the garden show, is now online. So if you head to the Melbourne Flower Show website, you'll be able to see the program before you turn up, and you can see who's talking when. And obviously Friday at 2:00 will be the place to be. You want to have some laughs. Because this is coming out on Thursday, so that works out pretty well. But that is the last question. Who's coming up? Oh, this episode 100 coming out next week. So that is with Renata Fairhall. So that was a pretty cool chat. So she's just moved down to Torquay. And the episode currently out is Steve Dedrick from Endemic Environments. And I apologise because I called him Endemic Environmental. So I'll have to correct that now. But thank you very much, everyone who put in a question and asked during the live as well. And make sure you get to the Melbourne Flower and Garden Show while it's on. And check out some of the amazing designs and all the cool little knickknacks they've got selling around the outside as well. And if you are there, come and say hello, and I'll see you there.